Hello, everyone. Welcome to another book talk here at 8 Letters Books and Publishing. I'm your creative director, Cindy Wong, and with us today is the author of Soul Dogs, Lilet Camara. If you're a dog lover, this one's for you. The book is all about Blue. Well, Blue should be at peace when he passed away. Instead, he's making a deal with eternity itself. When his human joy's soul becomes lost to despair, Blue abandons his place at the Rainbow Bridge and plunges into the dark realm, a twisted landscape where grief takes physical form and memories become traps. Three other dogs join his desperate mission, each refusing to let their beloved human slip away forever. But saving a soul means confronting the very darkness that claimed it. And in a realm where love is the only light, how far will a dog devotions reach? Soul Dog explores the fierce, unbreakable bond between human and dog and asks what we're willing to sacrifice for those we love the most. Ayon. So welcome to our book talk, Lilet. How are you doing?
Hello, Cindy. Thank you very much for having me here. I'm good. I hope you're also good. And I'm glad to be able to discuss more about my book.
Ayan, finally, because the book cover itself, it's very intriguing and I can't wait to dive into the questions na right away. So sabi ko nga kanina, this book is for, pet lovers kung meron kang pet or not just pet, siguro kung meron kang, like if you have a best friend or someone who recently passed, I think this book is for you. So Lilet, I'll dive right into the questions na agad. Um, you mentioned that Soul Dogs is inspired by the dogs you've loved and lost. Maybe you can share a specific story or memory of a dog that influenced your writing or a character in the book.
Thank you. Thank you for asking that question. To be honest, Soul Dogs was inspired by all the dogs that I've ever had since I was 8 years old. So I've had dogs all my life, But what really sparked the idea for this one, for Soul Dogs, was after I lost my Havanese in 2021. So my Havanese, Wally, was with me for actually just 8 years. So but they were very wonderful, very happy years, which I felt was really short. So when he was gone, I felt that he's still around me because we really bonded very strongly. So that got the questions going for me. What if our beloved pets don't really leave us? What if even after they've crossed over the Rainbow Bridge, as we want to believe, that they're still looking out for us in this life, they're still protecting us, they're still around, even in spirit form to keep us safe and calm. And then I also thought, of course, of all the other dogs that have passed away. So I had Monday, my very first dog when I was 8, and then I also had Chubby. They're actually all the pictures of my dogs are actually in the book. And then I also had Skittles, a Shih Tzu that I had when I was in the U.S. So when I started writing, I pulled together all of the memories that I have of all of these dogs that I had. Uh, Everything from our quiet moments, our happy moments, the play time that we've had, the way that they would comfort me, and the way they comforted me were all very distinct based on their personalities. So I just took a piece of all of those things that I experienced or shared with my dogs. And that's why I also called it Soul Dogs, because to me, all of the dogs that I had and I still have are not just companions or pets. The connection is really, so much deeper than that. And then I injected a dimension of rescue dogs or stray dogs in the story because I've always had a soft spot for the abandoned dogs, the ones that we see in the streets or even in shelters. And, I wanted to create a story around that, give it a layer of advocacy, if you may. So that's basically how I framed the story.
If you don't mind me asking, how many dogs do you have right now?
I have two. I have two. I have a French bulldog and I have a Jack Russell Terrier mix. So yeah.
Wow. Wow, I can really feel the connection that you have with your dogs and yung the dogs that you have also in the past. But also, when you show the book cover kanina, it's very compelling kasi did you just choose na dapat blue siya? Ganyan?
Yes.
Or
Oo. Kasi 'di ba they were there, there's a study I think, or there are studies that say that there are two distinct colors that dogs see. So it's blue and yellow. And then it so happened that I named the protagonist, the main dog in the book, as Blue. So I thought, what better way to represent it but with a dog that's colored blue. So that's how
Mhm.
it came about.
Oh wow. Okay, I did not know that. So that's news to me. So Lilet, so the book delves into deep themes of medyo emotional pero it themes of grief and the bond between dogs and their humans. But how do you think the portrayal of Blue's journey through the dark realm reflects the complexities of dealing with loss?
That's a very good question. For me, the book is really, it's not just about grief or dealing with grief or the bond between the dogs and the humans. So, of course, those are the core themes. But there are a lot of other themes that I wanted to explore with the book. It's about healing, it's about redemption, about second chances, and then, of course, essentially, it's all about love. The dark realm that I created in the book, the world of the dark realm, or the dark shadows that inhabit the dark realm, for me represents all those things that we struggle with, but we don't always talk about. And I think I've also tried to essay it with the characters, the human characters in the book now. So you have trauma, depression, addiction, the things that we actually fight quietly in the dark. That's the reason why the dark realm was created. So when Blue journeys, or the dog's journey through the dark realm, what I wanted to say is that, it's a reflection of what we face in our own lives when we go through the darkness, when we have moments that feel too heavy, too confusing, and then we feel so alone and lost. But the journey through the dark realm for me, and that's the reason also why I created a pack, or the three other dogs that journey with Blue, is that there's always that, even though we feel that we're alone, we're really never alone, and it's always good to go through darkness with somebody with you, that you feel that you have somebody with you, and that the dog's determination to connect with their humans, and to save them from the dark shadows that haunt them or torment them, is a reminder that even in the darkest times, the love, the bond that we have with other people, the connection, is what can light the way out for us.
I like that these dogs are having, well, sort of an adventure of a lifetime in the other side. Pero, well, at least they have this purpose na they want to save someone, which is connected to my next question. So, ayun na nga, nag-embark na sila sa mission na yon to save Joy. Pero how did you approach developing their characters? And what traits did you want to emphasize to highlight their devotion? Because, like, of course, we know dogs as dogs, and of course, this is fantasy. Na how did you put in their characters? Because parang naisip ko ano ba to, parang yung Disney na na character. So did you ever think about that? How was your process putting all of this into the character story?
Thank you for asking that question. Actually, siguro not to spoil anything, but the book is really written from the point of view of the dogs. No? So it's the dogs that are talking. But when I wrote the characters or the dogs, what I wanted to happen is for them to feel real. So not just as like, the Disney talking dogs, but as beings with their own personalities. They have their own rich inner lives. Um, I've always lived, because I've lived with dogs all my life. I've always been fascinated by how each one actually behaves differently, and they do show different personalities, and I wanted to capture that. Some are shy, some are aggressive, some are goofy, some are endlessly patient or grumpy. And with each dog that I created, I also wanted them to represent all the different kinds or facets of love. So you have your unconditional love, you have your loyal love, you have your stubborn, you have your playful love, you have your selfless love. Um, I think it was Jane Goodall who said that animals really have unique personalities and you really have unique characteristics, and that's what I wanted to essay with the dog characters that I created. So they are, and that's also the reason why I called it Soul Dogs, because I wanted really the soul of the dogs to come out, not just the distinct personalities, but the souls behind the dog. And the devotion that they show to their humans is not just about it being a cute side or about it being them heroic, but because it's really their instinct. It's a natural thing for them to have. um, the reason that they can give us unconditional love is because they don't need to intellectualize it, diba? Like us humans, kasi we need to intellectualize it, we need to justify it, diba? And that's how all of these troubles with relationships come out. But with dogs, they just live it. um, and I think that's also the reason why we have dogs and why we need dogs, because we learn a lot from them about this kind of love. And I think what also helped me was there was a period in my life when I was writing blog articles, and I wrote a series about the different dog breeds. So that came in very handy when I was already trying to characterize each dog. Because I didn't name the breeds, but some of the distinct breed characteristics are very prominent in the book. So I paid attention to the quirks, like how a retriever would tilt its head or shake his tail or wag his tail, or how a terrier is actually like how very playful and would have this very determined out mindset. So that's something that I really wanted to respect in the book, and to show that these souls are individuals with their own stories and their own wisdom. Sorry, I
Thank you
could
for
go
that.
on and on about dogs, so don't let me.
Yeah, no worries, no worries. So, before I get to the next questions, I just want to remind our viewers to make sure to check the caption. So the links are there. You can get a copy of the book. You can get it from Amazon, from our website, Shopee, and Lazada. So yon, yeah, wag nating kalimutan yan. So, Lilet, next question. The book raises the question of how far one would go for love and sacrifice, diba? So, when you think about your readers, what do you think, or what message do you hope your readers will take away regarding the lengths we might go to for those we care about? And then number two, looking at the reader's perspective, um, what do you want them to feel? At sino ba dapat ang magbasa ng Soul Dogs?
Very interesting question. So, how far would we go? And I think that's also what I said earlier. No, we learn from our dogs. We learn from our pet and our fur companions. Actually, whether it's a dog, a cat, whatever pet you have, you will get to learn and you will get to see, how far they can actually go in terms of their devotion to their human companion. And as I said, it's very instinctive. You don't even have to teach them that. And I think that's one of the if I think one of the main themes that I want to really explore in this book is, um, as I said, in the blurb on the cover, love bridges all worlds. Because for me, love doesn't end just because they pass away or because they've left. I think it just changes form, it just changes a dimension, And I think that's also one aspect of grief that I want to bring into the book. That grief is not bad. It's not, it doesn't have to be a sad thing, because the flip side of grief is because you've loved deeply. And I think it also says something about the humans that are essayed in the book. No? That because you have experienced love, that kind of unconditional love in your life, you're able to express it, and you're able to also transform it into something good. Now, as to who should read the book, as I think you've also said it. Initially, of course, I was thinking of all of those who really loved and lost their beloved pets, because let's face it, pets right now, or even before, are already considered family members. So, in fact, there are a lot of even studies that say that people grieve more when it's a dog or it's a cat that has passed away than another human. So, because of the universal themes that I've tried to cover in the book, as I said, it can go beyond people who own pets. And I was actually happy to have tested that, because one of my beta readers did not have a pet, but she said she was able to relate to the themes that were discussed in the book.
Right. Lilet, do you think say a child or a teenager can relate to the book na agad for so with soul dogs? You think?
There are some heavy themes, of course.
Mm,
I said, so you have trauma, you have addiction. I think it's best if it's a young reader to have some guidance from an adult.
mm,
Um, and as I said, I really tried to depart from the children's version or rendition of the dogs being the main characters of the book. So, I mean, if it would be like a teenager, perhaps they can already read it. But if it's somebody below 10 or 9, I would suggest having the parent guide them through the book.
okay, got you. So Lilet, for my last question, I'll be stepping out from the book naman, and I want to get to know you as a writer. So this is your first novel, and I know that this has always been in your checklist. Um, have you always wanted to write about these themes na dapat related to dogs, or because you can I can see na you've taken mass communication in the past, and also you could have written something else, but why have you chosen this subject? And then at the same time, perhaps you can also share about your challenges and um, triumphs, while writing this.
Okay, that's a very beautiful question, and I think that you've made me think about it. um, the idea about writing a book, yes, it's as I said, it's a bucket list. But I always thought that I'd do it somewhere along the line, down the line. No? So maybe if I'm older, much older, and maybe it could take the form of a memoir or something, writing about dogs, or a story about dogs. Never expected this to be my first book, or to be the theme for my first book. Although some of my friends would probably argue that no, actually, we've seen you write, we've expected you to write something about dogs, because they have really been a big part of my life. As I mentioned, I think it's really, because of the circumstances that has led to, me losing my last dog, which was Wally, that prompted me to write the book. Again, it was, those questions that really haunted me, like, what really happens when a dog dies? And I still, I because I said, of course, some would probably say it's woo woo, but I would feel the energy of the my past dogs around me. So I just wanted to really, I think it was also a way for me to process my own grief about losing my dogs. Um, so I think some of the challenges that I had with this with this book is, aside from of course, the technical aspects, the world building, being able to fully develop the characters, not just of the dogs but of the humans. But because it is such a story that's so close to me and that's so personal, I would find that I had to like step back for a bit. And this is true because there are times that even when I was writing, I would be crying. So it was also cathartic. It was hard. It was easy, but at the end, I think it was also an experience that I had to go through. In terms of the triumphs, I think what I like is that I was able to finish it and actually release it. With, of course, with the help of your team. It's one of the best things that I've ever done, and being able to share the story. In fact, I'm very excited to hear the reviews from the readers, and to see how they can relate to the themes of the book, how they're able to also process their own grief if they're going through some griefs of their own. Um, how it shaped me as a writer, I think it's helped me to trust my voice even more and to not shy away from being vulnerable, because I really had to pour a lot of my own experiences and my own thoughts into the book. That by writing the book, I had to shed a lot of the traditional musts or approved things that I knew book writing should have. And I'm also, of course, proud that I was able to build worlds. I never thought I would be able to do that, to tackle big themes or to discuss big themes. And then to actually finish a story, because there were times when I was writing the book that I didn't know where it was going to go. I didn't have an outline. I did start with an outline. As I said, I started with questions, and I just wanted to follow those questions through. So, those are the things that I learned from this. Of course, from your team, I learned a lot about publishing, the pains and the challenges of publishing, that I'm happy to have, your team's expertise to help me with that. And they say you never forget your first. But what it has also, I think, helped me to see is that this doesn't have to be the only book. I thought before that, once I finish a book, that's it. Because it's a bucket list item, I'm done, finished. But now I find that I'm actually already writing the sequel to the book, which is its own kind of adventure. So I'm putting in new characters, new lessons, but still following the stories of the dogs.
Wow, I'm so glad to hear na may second book na agad. We're very much looking forward to that. And also, you've pointed a very important advice when you're writing about a subject that's too close to you. Na you really have to step out for a bit and really see it from another perspective. Kasi mahirap talaga yon. Yeah. But I would say congratulations, Lilet, for getting the first book out there. Kasi I would say na it's one of the most difficult things, to be honest, because you're writing something about very close to you, and then at the same time, you're letting go of the some of the rules that you mentioned kanina, 'di ba? So sometimes you don't have to stick um, to all of those rules when it comes to writing a book. Kasi lalo na ngayon, like the world is evolving and the landscape is evolving, and we're just glad na you've entrusted us to get you to that point. And I'm sure Blue's adventure, or the book two, is going to be very, very exciting. So Lilet, next, last one na talaga. Where can we follow your journey naman? Writing journey, where can we follow you? Where can we find updates about this book?
Uh, your platforms, your website, of course. But I'm on Facebook. I'm on Instagram. I sometimes post about, of course, the books or the book that I'm doing, and then some ideas. So they can follow me there. Facebook, Instagram, and again your platforms. So as I mentioned, I'm so happy that I took this journey with you. By my initiation into publishing, book writing is with 8 letters. I couldn't have asked for a better partner for this.
Thank you so much, Lilet. And we're always here for you. And once again, to our viewers, make sure to get a copy of Soul Dogs by Lilet Camara. Yan, very nice cover. You can get it from Shopee, Lazada, from our website, and Amazon. And once again, thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you again next time in our next
Thank
book
you,
talk.
Cindy.
Thank you, Lilet. Bye bye. Bye, everyone.